Daily, 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 daily recap. Honestly, today has been an interesting day. It started a little bit off this morning, but that's fine. And then ended at this event, which was interesting, to say the least. Maybe I'll put a small image of the event here. I'm in Soho right now, sitting down, because the event was in Soho, and lots of thoughts. It's always like this at the end of the night when you're done with one of these events. You just have a stream of consciousness or a stream of thoughts that pop up into your mind, and they're not bad thoughts, they're just thoughts. One of the things I found most interesting about the event that I went to was it was a tech event, tech designers. The products, the ideas that people were presenting, they were fascinating genuinely in their own right. The first person talked about this product for games, where it's a mobile app that you play games in. But in the mobile app, you can code your own games. And I found that fascinating because it's, in its own way, it's democratizing. I hate to use that word, but it's opening up the aperture. Yeah, let me expand my vocab. It's opening up the aperture to what's possible with game design from your phone. Not in-depth games, for example, Call of Duty or Watch Dogs, not that level of gaming, but games that one might play from their phone, similar to Temple Run. I would put it in the category of Temple Run, Tetris, those type of games. And you could spin off different games that other people have made, so you can build on other people's ideas. That's it. That's also fascinating. I like that one. That one was cool. The second one was by this individual who worked at Stripe, and she was interested in carbon technology. I thought that was a meaningful cause. Technology that pulls out CO2 from the environment, and so technology that pulls out CO2 from the environment. The reason she highlighted for making tech to do this was that the basic idea of planting more trees isn't enough to remove the CO2 from the atmosphere. And I thought that was a good point. I was more so curious though about how you make carbon tech, or tech for carbon emission removal, in a sustainable way, because there were no market economics for what, in my opinion at least, because there weren't really market economics for what to do, for how that continues to make money. Maybe it can get funded in a way, I don't know what's the word, similar to how Signal is funded, but I'm not so sure about that. I would say the idea was important because ultimately their goal was also to just help policymakers know or understand what to do with the funds and the capital that they gather before they allocate them to other people. I thought that was, that's a good, meaningful goal. but the market economics of how that business makes money, I wasn't too sure about that, because funding green tech or carbon reduction tech in theory is ideal, but based off what I know about people, a lot of times people want to make returns on their ideas, so it's important. That part is important. And even if it's long-term bets, they do want to make returns on their ideas. So that's my only thing about that idea. I would say the third one was also relatively fascinating. Talking about toys. I forget what the name is though. It's a toy that you hold in your hand, like a microscope, shaped like a microscope. No, not microscope. What's the other tool? I forget right now what that tool is called. It's a tool that magnifying glass. Yeah. So the last tool was the third piece of technology was this tool shaped like a magnifying glass, and it had tech inside of it. The whole premise and the whole idea was that technology for kids that's not the iPad, and they made this, what's the word I would use, hardware, that when you look at objects as a kid, there's a AI model on the hardware, I believe. I don't know, you didn't get into the specifics of if it was on the hardware or if it was, what's the question? Yeah, it didn't get into the specifics of if it was on the hardware or if it was running on the cloud and what model. He did say that the model that was used for the toy, or the toy, literally it is a toy. He said that the model that was used for the toy is safe for kids. I don't know how it's safe for kids. I don't know what the testing and all that stuff that was done beforehand. And yeah, I don't really have any idea how they made that stuff feel safe for kids, but it's fascinating. The thing that I didn't enjoy though about that software or the hardware or the magnifying glass was it felt plasticky, and I didn't have it in hand, but when I saw it visually on the TV that they had in the office space, plastic, in my opinion. If you're going to have kids playing with things, I would want a much more premium feel, and premium is literally just earth materials. Even a regular magnifying glass feels nice, but I can understand if this is a prototype situation, super niche product. Also, people who have children, they might not necessarily be interested in paying for a premium version of that. But there are some people who would not mind if that magnifying glass were, what's the word? There's some people who won't mind if the magnifying glass was like hardwood, hardwood handle, not really hard, but well designed, bell drop shape. I guess I'm the people. I wouldn't mind if I were a 5-year-old and you gave me something that would felt like wood, or not felt like wood, but actual wood. Use some real wood, use some other materials outside of plastic, make it more sustainable. But it's not sustainable for people's bank accounts. That I understand. So I don't know. Maybe make different versions, different price points. Idea. Oh, the third idea. The fourth one. The fourth one was honestly the least impressive, but also fairly impressive. What do I mean by that? Let me focus on the fairly impressive parts. I felt that it was cool that this person who ran this company flies or goes to different farms and asks different farmers what it is that, basically trying to understand different operations that different, I wouldn't even use farmers, landowners. Let me give you some added context to make this clear. So in the middle of America, middle meaning Central America, there's a bunch of landowners out there. It's also the same on the coastal side of the country, but the middle really has space. Like, there's a ton of space in the middle of America. I know this because I went on a cross-country trip last summer with my wife, and we saw so much space in the middle of the country. And all these farmers or all these landowners use their land in mixed ways. They don't necessarily use their land for just agriculture. I'm talking about the smaller farmers, not the smaller landowners, not the conglomerates. People who have 2,000 acres to 10,000 acres, which might not sound small, but there's people who have way more acres out there in the country, and there's a lot more acreage still, or a lot more land still in the country. But those people use their lands a lot of time for mixed use. Some people use it for partial camping. Some people use it for partial camping. Some partially use it for windmills. Some partially use it for growing crops. Some people partially use it as a farm for cows. Some do both types of cows, whether it's milking. Well, not really. Usually I saw one type of cow like business or cow produce. It was either milking or it was dairy farming, or it was for beef. That context is needed to understand what this person's product is trying to do. Now, in my opinion, the thing that the person was trying to do with their product was, one, go to these farmers and expose them to AI. Yeah, go to them, expose them to AI, landowners, and see if they could see how they could solve their problems, the landowners. Because when you're using your land for all these different things and you're a very local person, hands-on person, not necessarily running a team of 20 people or 100 people, so maybe 10,000 acre land is too large, but still 100 acres to 2,000, that's still a decent amount of land. When you're doing all of this stuff, your land runs differently from the people who are super structured and only do one type of farming and have this large source of income by feeding, for example, an entire state or for feeding an entire city. It's very different. Now, the person's idea, which was not clear from the beginning, I won't lie, and I'm not trying to be rude, I'm trying to be so honest without disrespecting the person, but trying to make tools that help these individuals by mixing in their different silos of businesses that go on their land, and adopting this memo situations where you might remember that, I owe this person $300 from the farmer's stand next week. Keep that memo and get saved, and you say it to like an AI and it gets saved, right? And my god. You say it to an AI and it gets saved. I'm just saying my god because it's so this is where the problem is, right? For me personally, this is just where my problem is with all of this stuff. Is that it just feels like I can just open a Notion doc and save all this information as a farmer. Just have a single page, a database, and just save all the information as farmers who, from a different land usage, and just manage it. And yes, maybe the farmer is not super technical. Obviously, the farmer is not obviously, but not every farmer. They're a farmer. Not every farmer is technical, to be modest in that phrase. But yeah, just saving things in Notion and looking at them sounds more intuitive, and having a bunch of Notion agents help you out throughout this entire process sounds more intuitive than what they were trying to do as a company. And I'm not even being disrespectful, I'm trying to really be honest. But I did think that there was something useful in what they were trying to do in helping that industry. Now, what I would recommend, or what I think, is that just become the agent layer, the agent that basically connects these farmers to, the agent that connects the farmers to the people to the database location, wherever the database is being saved. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that one. The last one was really the hardest one, because low-key, they were the ones who were hosting the events, so yikes. And I thought about emailing them. I might still send an email to them, just to be honest. But it really exposed something to me about artificial intelligence and the way everybody's probably going to be using it. The solutions are so custom that, to some degree, every AI related thing needs some type of forward deployed engineer or solutions engineer in the mix, because you're going to need somebody to set up all of this stuff. Yes, you can set it up by yourself, but I doubt the farmer in the middle of Wyoming is interested in learning how to do all that stuff, connecting Notion and connecting they're saving all their dogs. They will be interested in using it if you make it custom enough for them to use, and you tell them this is how we can set it up for you. But it's not going to be, nobody really wants to learn all of this stuff. It's a lot of work, and it's a common thread amongst AI. People are just needing more and more custom solutions than they are needing group solutions. Anyways, this is my little rant on this event that I just went to. I don't really, that last one was not the best one, I'm not going to lie. And I think the room felt that way, but nobody was going to say that, especially if, the host is there. But I didn't really think there was anything there, personally. Damn, that's so harsh. There was something there. There was something. But this is all anonymous, so only the people that were at the event will know. And if the people at the event see this, you just know. I don't know who funded this idea, but that person should ask for a refund. Like, seriously. But then I think that's also the interesting thing about the last company, the last idea, which is this: they're already operational, so they're exposed to unique data and unique information, and they could probably do something, because at the end of the day, there was foresight in the person whoever the founders are of that company. There was foresight in what's the word I would use? There was foresight in their ability to see that there was a problem there with those individual landowners, and you have to be the person that's seen that scenario. Maybe they grew up on a farm. Maybe, unique insights plays a role here, but they were fortunate enough to have seen that thing where, hey, these smaller farmers need help, and they need money to do. They need help. They don't need money. These small farmers need to be catered to technologically wise. Rambled and twisted. These smaller farmers are in need of somebody to solve their problem when it comes to tech. So there was foresight in being that person who could say, yeah, let me see if I can take a swing at this problem. And honestly, I believe that it's going to be interesting things that could come out of something like that. I don't know if that's me trying to be nice, but I think my honest opinion is those people do need help. They're not going to learn all these AI tools. Not everybody wants to learn all this stuff. Some people just want to make things, and some people will find people when they want to make things. So this is it's ongoing. So this is ongoing. No, that's a terrible ending. So yeah, so this is something that yap. Getting tired, hungry to be precise, but tired. It's time to go home. Bye bye, Soho.